I have a goal to ensure that every single monotype hardcore Nuzlocke in every mainline Pokemon game is completed on YouTube. How do we accomplish that? Through this spreadsheet. Every game has been accounted for, heck, some are finished, but some are criminally underrepresented, and I, ChaoticMeatball, am here to fix that. There's still dozens of runs to do, so let's tackle one from the least appreciated Kanto game, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, using only bug types. We've only got 6 encounters here in Butterfree, Beedrill, Parasect, Venomoth, Scyther, and Pinsir, but sadly, Scyther and Pinsir are version exclusives. Pikachu gets Scyther, and Pinsir is only an Eevee, but I think Scyther is going to end up being much more useful due to setup move access. But before we get into it, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you want access to videos early, make sure to become a channel member as it helps more than anything else. But with that, let's begin. So thankfully we don't have to change our starter in this game because there's 2 bug types available right after taking care of the first rival battle, which isn't much of a loss in terms of the Nuzlocke since we didn't even have access to Pokeballs yet. Of course, those 2 are Caterpie and Weedle, found both on Route 2 and Viridian Forest, so if you find one like I did with Caterpie on Route 2, you can grab the other in the Viridian Forest no problem, with Weedle added to the party. I'm also capturing all other Pokemon I see as well and stuffing them into the PC due to the requirement for Koga's gym, as I need 50 Pokemon, and for Brock's gym, which needs me to have a grass type. In my case Oddish, since I'm playing Pikachu, whereas Eevee players would be saddled with Bellsprout. However, problems start to compact immediately considering Brock has rock types and we are mega weak to them. Butterfree being bug fly makes it quad weak, while Beedrill is at least just a normal 2x weakness due to being bug poison, though that doesn't help much in this situation. I will say though, I got insanely lucky in the Viridian Forest since I found Bulbasaur without having a chain active, so that's a 0.5% chance of appearing. Pointless for the challenge, but it's another Pokemon for the Koga total and I was caught off guard having it pop up out of nowhere. While I'm capturing it and getting my Pokemon to Brock's level cap though, I want to take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. If you're anything like me, you're probably one that has a problem getting to bed at night with no energy to take on the next day. Light sources mess up your sleep big time, and in my case, having a bunch of game consoles and computer monitors with their LEDs on bothers me quite a bit, but Manta Sleep has been such a help in making sure I can fall asleep perfectly with their sleep masks. Now, I've talked about Manta Sleep before, but since that video nearly a year ago, I've continued to use their sound mask to help me sleep at night. Blocking out both those LED lights, and with the Bluetooth connectivity, I can choose to listen to something to drift off to sleep. Whether it's a calm game review from King K, or the wonky quartet of Farfa, DZeef, MBT, and Nim Nim screaming at each other over MasterChef.
Dog, this is... Dude!
My goal! Let's go!
What are you doing?
I'm comboing, bro. Leave me alone.
The sound quality is also pretty darn good. I've actually brought it on flights before to both block out the packed plane while listening to any downloaded YouTube videos I've brought along with me. There's a wide variety of masks too, so if you prefer not having sound while you sleep, or you're on a tighter budget, the Silk Mask or Standard Sleep Mask are for you. They're soft, breathable, and completely adjustable for your comfort, completely with no pressure on your eyes thanks to their design. They also have a white noise machine for blocking out any other noises to help you sleep, something I've appreciated far more than just using the noise from a fan in the background. I've been using that technique for over a decade, but the white noise machine has been a considerable improvement. If you're looking for better sleep, use code MEATBALL at checkout for 10% off, link in the description. It really helps support the channel while also supporting healthy sleep habits, and that's one of the most important things we do in life. Thanks once again to Manta Sleep for sponsoring the video, and let's get into those badges. Entering the gym with Bulbasaur and taking it out of the party does the trick, but even with all the Pokemon available so far and all trainers battled, even the first trainer is a bit for me to handle, only being taken down by a lucky poisoning from Kakuna's Poison Sting. So I had to do some chain catching to get my levels up to the cap of 12, evolving both and letting me go into Brock. I've got a semblance of a plan, but it's not consistent in the slightest. I'm leading with Butterfree and going straight for Harden since thankfully Geodude doesn't have any rock-type attacks at this point in time. It's essentially just hoping and praying that we end up making it through without any crits and being able to wall up, even against the quad weakness against Rock Tomb from Onix. After 6 turns of this, I'm left with a little less than a half HP due to critical tackle, so I just start wailing on Geodude with Gust, being a special move so it's not inhibited by Defense Curl or the high defense stats of either Geodude or Onix, letting me KO within 4 shots and be left with Onix. I'm not too excited about this one, but by leveling up mid-match, which is allowed within the rules as the level cap only stays in effect until the start of the battle, I can get Poison Powder on Butterfree and use that to keep whittling away the HP pool of Onix, while also grabbing Sleep Powder for the future if it happens to work out without Butterfree going down. Speaking of, I'm using that instead of Poison Powder for Onix actually, since I want to see if I can get away with keeping this guy asleep for long enough to where Butterfree survives, though Onix wakes up after a single gust, but thankfully misses, so we're able to hit a second one, then go back to gust and see it's a 4-hit KO. Just gotta get through this turn without a wake up. Oh, and we missed out on it, though. Holy moly, I did not expect a rock throw to do that little damage. Sure, we're at +6 defense, but sheesh, I mean, it's still quad weakness. I'll friggin' take it. The fourth and final gust puts Onix down, letting both Butterfree and Beedrill live on to fight another day, earning the Boulder Badge and a TM for Headbutt, a very useful move for this early in the game. Honestly, I'm shocked I got away with getting through that as easily as I did, but that isn't gonna make the rest of the game easy. Thankfully, the trek through Route 3 doesn't provide any problems, leading to Mount Moon for me to capture Paris. Having grass access for the rock types is certainly going to lighten the load for the rest of the party, but considering it's still a quad weakness to fire, I'm going to have a really hard time once we get around to Blaine or so. I'm also making great progress on the Koga requirement, being nearly halfway by the time I'm out of Mount Moon, taking on the double battle against Jesse and James toward the end. They're using Coughing and Ekans as the lead, as I'm going for the fully evolved bugs, with Butterfree spamming Gust and Beedrill blasting out Headbutts, nearly KOing Coughing in a single turn, but they don't do much damage to me in return with the likes of Acid or Tackle, so Ekans goes down, as does Coughing, all before either Butterfree or Beedrill go below half HP, winning me the fight and giving me safe passage to Cerulean City. My best bet is probably going straight into the gym since I don't have the EXP needed to take on the rival yet, and it's a little annoying with the likes of Goldie and Supersonic, but Twin Needle's just fine, and the second nor third trainers give me much of a problem either, leaving just Misty yourself. Or that would be the case if I was even close to the level cap. I'm still only sitting at level 15 with a cap of 19, so let's try taking on that rival fight first before Nugget Bridge. I've got a few levels on him actually, starting Pidgey as I go with Beedrill, headbutting it for a one-shot immediately as Eevee comes out second, using 2 quick attacks for minimal damage as 2 headbutts does the job, doing the same to Oddish, all while staying above half HP for the win. I kind of forgot how much easier that fight is here as opposed to either of the previous 2 sets of Kanto games. Makes it easy to storm right through Nugget Bridge and Route 25, picking up Venonat while I'm at it to get yet another bug poison type. It's making psychic types feel even more intimidating, but I've got enough options at this point to help cover that. But it's creeping up on me more and more that I wish that something like Araquanid was in this game, what I wouldn't give for a water type right about now. With the SS ticket in hand though, I'm finally ready for Misty. She leads Psyduck, I lead Paris and just try to put it to sleep with Sleep Powder, but miss after taking a Confusion. Not a problem though, I can just at least go straight for Growth twice, taking 2 more Confusions for about 20% damage each, finally shifting to Absorb for the stab grass damage plus recovery, doing about 75% and healing off 2 Confusions in the process while taking a 4th. One more Absorb and I'm back in the green going into Starmie, and it's a pretty safe fight considering we resist water, and Swift just doesn't do enough to fight back against the growth damage. Not even a critical hit would do it since it only does 1.5 times the damage in this generation, KOing with 3 Absorbs to pick up the Cascade badge and the TM for Scald. Really looking forward to doing one of these with water types, since having that early access to such a powerful move is going to make most of the game trivial. But alas, not now. 2 down, 6 to go. It's just a straight shot south after taking on the Team Rocket Grunt toward Route 5, through the underground path to Route 6, and finally into Vermilion City, home of the SS Anne. Nothing much to comment on regarding the battles here, but at least the rival fight is a bit more difficult than last time. He's finally packing Pidgeotto, but it's not enough to beat the heat of Beedrill thanks to the power of the newly learned Poison Jab, doing over half damage and poisoning as Wing Attack does a similar amount of damage, taking him down next turn as Eevee takes the field. Quick Attack is pretty much the last attack I can take before being in crit range, so a Poison Jab takes about 80% of his HP, leaving me to swap into Butterfree and finish it with Psybeam, doing the same to Oddish by hitting it twice for the quick win. Beautiful! And I'm still not even close to the level cap. They really did overcompensate for the lack of level difference between Misty and Surge from the previous Kanto games, but going from 21 to 24 and instead doing 19 to 26 is probably a bit much for how little is in between these areas. Though we do have one more boss fight in the form of Mina, the fairy trial captain from Alola. She's only packing a Jigglypuff and Mr. Mime though, due to prejudice against anything not from Kanto in the Kanto region. She's leading with the former, but really there's nothing to say other than Beedrill goes brrr here with frickin' Poison Jab, one-shotting it and two-shotting Mr. Mime through a Reflect and Psywave to safely deliver me to Lieutenant Surge. Speaking of, thanks to Dig on the newly evolved Parasect, this fight is trivial. Dig takes out Voltorb through Light Screen, then does so to Magnemite post Thunderbolt, leaving just Raichu to hit Thunderbolt, and sure enough, I guess it's a range. Well, at least this time it doesn't matter. Leech Life finishes off the electric rat thing, earning me the Thunder Badge and the TM for Thunderbolt. Only a few more areas left before I can get a hold of my last encounter in Scyther, with Route 9 not providing much of a problem, along with the Team Rocket encounter right next to the entrance of Rock Tunnel. However, oh boy, I really need to walk around carefully in the Rock Tunnel. There are far too many rock types in here, and my only counter is Parasect. Not exactly the best thing in the world since Absorb isn't very strong, but at least it's something. And because of Parasect, I did manage to escape unscathed, emerging on the other side and marching straight over to Celadon City for Erica's Rainbow Badge. This one's not really that threatening since the level cap is 31, which let Venonat finally evolve into Venomoth, and all of the poison types allow me to dodge the nonsense status. Oh yeah, and for some reason Beedrill learned Outrage by level up? I mean, if you wanted to boost up a bug type that's not normally treated as anything but early game fodder, that's one way to do it. However, I don't want to go after Erica just yet since I'm not quite at the level cap, and there's still plenty of trainers accessible inside of the Pokemon Tower and a few other limited areas. Speaking of the former, there's another rival fight in there, leading Pidgeotto and myself Butterfree. And it's time for my signature classic, going straight for 3 quiver dances and letting myself go down to red HP before starting to sweep. Air slashing to one-shot Pidgeotto, bug buzzing to thrash Jolteon, and Psybeam for Gloom to finish the fight. God, I love setup sweeping! But this is probably out of necessity for later because I have a bad feeling that it's the only way I'm going to survive some of these later fights. The rest of the tower goes well though, dodging the ghost until I reach the top so I can get sent down to the bottom, heading back to Celadon to take on Erica. She's leading Tangela, myself with Venomoth, and it's mostly because it doesn't have any good attacks yet, so I'm just going in with Gust to hopefully take out Tangela before the damage adds up while asleep, eventually KOing after a few Mega Drains by recovering with Leech Life, leading to Vileplume. This Leech Life strat though seems to be pacing pretty well with the likes of Vileplume's Moonblast, bridging me to around half HP, taking it out as Weepinbell comes in last. And once again, the Leech Life spam is more than enough to KO and give me the win, the Rainbow Badge, and the TM for Mega Drain. I would give it to Parasect, but Spore seems far too good of an option. Heck, I may as well shift around all my moves for later, like giving Roost to a few Pokemon for healing options, Psychic to Butterfree and Venomoth, and now I'm ready for the second half of the game. The move improvements are more than enough to help me plow through the Rocket hideout, letting me get to Archer and Giovanni at the end pretty quickly. Though before I went in, I made sure to get the team to level 40 since there's no way I'm going to be able to survive the likes of Flamethrower Weezing and Air Cutter Golbat back-to-back without the extra boost here. Starting with Archer though, he leads with Weezing and myself with Beedrill, going for Headbutt to try flinch stalling him out of the game, but as soon as I see Flamethrower and I don't get a flinch, I take a little below half. I'm still feeling completely fine to go for another Headbutt here to see if it goes well, and nope, no flinch on the second either, forcing me to swap after the Flamethrower into Venomoth to take a critical hit Flamethrower, surviving to hit a Psychic to KO and leave just Golbat. Sadly, I've got to stay in here and hope to God that Sleep Powder does enough work, and while I do land it, that's the first turn asleep. I gotta hope the second turn it stays asleep assuming Psychic doesn't KO, and it doesn't, shoot! Oh, but okay, good. Golbat stays asleep, giving me the win after a second Psychic. Barely eking it out, but still managing to do so all the rather. Immediately after, though, I've got to take on Giovanni, leading Persian while I'm going with Parasect, going straight for Spore so I can set up some growths, setting up 3 before Slash connects after Wake Up. All good though, since I still have enough HP to take another Slash, surviving on 18 HP and climbing right back up after a one-shot Leech Life, healing to back over half HP as Rhyhorn comes in second, hitting a Dig to KO. Last is... Rhyhorn was last? I forgot that he doesn't have Onix or Kangaskhan or anything else in this fight. Whoopsie. Alas, it's an easy win, but not the end of Team Rocket beatdown since Jesse and James are at the top of Pokemon Tower and only available now that I have the Silph Scope. Weezing and Arbok are a bit of a pair to take care of, but considering I have Butterfree and Venomoth both with Psychic, it just takes 2 turns of double targeting to take out Arbok before it can use Glare, and Weezing before it could, well, be annoying, I guess. That opens up Silph Company, but there's no way I'm going in there yet. Blue has a Charizard, and I have no chance of going against that without at least just a little bit more in the tank, namely my last team member, and even then it's iffy. Scyther takes like 5 encounters to find, so I'd grab it super quick, but I still have to assess whether I can even go to that fight or not. And I don't think so yet. I've got to go after Koga's gym as my most likely target that I can go for, But looking at how little damage Psychic does to Muck against just a gym trainer, I get a bit worried, but it doesn't actually really do anything because I'm part poison type and Venomoth can't get poisoned. Essentially, I just need to make it through the Koga fight though with only Venomoth and Beedrill. But let's see how it goes. He leads Wheezing, I lead Venomoth, and it's straight for Sleep Powder and swap out to Butterfree. Despite what I just said, if I can get like 2 Quiver Dances up, I should be able to sweep decently. So I swap, go for Quiver Dance, and immediately Toxic. God damn it. I did go for a second one though, since I know Wheezing is going for Protect, getting enough to KO in one shot with Psychic, leading to Golbat. Once again, a one shot with Psychic, no Protect here. Third is Muck, another Protect Pokemon that I can Roost on, then swap into Beedrill to get out of the Toxic damage. At this point though, I just started doing the Headbutt G's I did earlier and failed at, and somehow it worked here, managing to get a flinch and throwing the A off of their Protect, KOing after 5 Headbutts to leave just Venomoth. I know it's going for Psychic, so I swapped into Parasect. But now I'm sure I'm going to see Bug Buzz this turn, so it's out into my own Venomoth for the mirror match, outspeeding next turn to connect with Sleep Powder. As long as it stays asleep, I'll be just fine since I'm swapping back into Butterfree and going for Quiver Dance to survive and blast out Psychic. Fortunately, it's easy enough due to Protect being prioritized by Venomoth, letting me get another Roost off before finally finishing the fight with the Psychic, one-shotting Venomoth and earning me the Soul Badge without a single loss. That one was hard to navigate, but frankly, I wasn't going to be able to take out Blue without being at as high a level as possible, and getting that fight out of the way helps immensely. Speaking of, I think the only way I'm getting through the Blue fight is once again setup sweeping. He leads with Executor, which is enough insurance for me to lead with Butterfree and immediately click Quiver Dance, seeing Light Screen in the process. Perfect! All I have to do is outlast 2 of those while setting up and healing, alternating between turns, then plow through it with Bug Buzz on Executor and Psychic on Charizard. Well, that was easier than I had given it credit for. The rest of the area is pretty simple to get through, with 3 more boss fights to deal with. There's a double battle against Archer and a Grunt that ends up going well, as Explosion for Electrode doesn't even do half to Beedrill, letting it wail on Wheezing with Headbutt as Muck goes down to Cubone's Bone Meringue. Out comes Raticate, so I swap into Venomoth, but since we're in dire straits with Beedrill, taking a double target from Raticate and Wheezing is kinda rough, including a Flamethrower that nearly KOs Venomoth. But I can just let Cubone do enough damage while shifting around the team, eventually leading to it going down and Pidgeot replacing it, doing much more damage and allowing us to finish off Wheezing, Raticate, and Golbat to get the win. Now to just get the card key and head on through the remainder. No rival battle here due to Archer getting in the way, thank you very much, leaving just Jesse and James, then Giovanni. The duo, though, is quite frankly too easy at this point because, again, I have double targeting Psychic. Butterfree and Venomoth once again are able to take out Arbok and Wheezing and win the fight in 2 turns, leaving just Giovanni. Second verse, though, same as the first, as he leads with Persian and only adds a single Pokemon to the party, so I can just use Butterfree, Quiver Dance, Roost, Quiver Dance, Roost, Quiver Dance, Roost, just keep alternating that since Slash can't possibly hope to do more than half damage unless it gets a crit, leaving Butterfree to get all the way up to +6, healing back to near full with Roost before blasting Persian, Rhyhorn, and Nidoqueen all with 1 Psychic each to win. I should probably also point out that Sabrina is just as easy since she leads with Mr. Mime, letting me just set up all of the Quiver Dances in the world and heal with Roost, using Quiver Dance to take out Mr. Mime, Jinx, Slowbro, and Alakazam, and I just realized I said Quiver Dance, but let's be honest, it did all the work, not Bug Buzz, earning me the Marsh Badge. But I've got a feeling this is about as far as the run can physically go without extreme luck. I have one idea for Blaine, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't work because it's extremely inconsistent. The secret key is at least easy to get, though I did run into a trainer with a Rapidash while I was in the Pokemon Mansion. However, it kinda just keeled over to Butterfree despite the type advantage. Fine with me. 1 key later and I can enter the gym and the quiz is easy to get through. But boy howdy, is the gym battle the most threatening thing I could possibly run into. Blaine starts off with Magmar, I go with Venomoth and immediately go for Sleep Powder since once again, if I cannot set up Sweep and block the likes of special attacks right here, right now, I am dead 100% of the time. I manage to hit it, swapping out into Butterfree as Magmar stays asleep, so that's 2 turns. Magmar actually outspeeds and stays asleep on the 3rd turn as I go for my first Quiver Dance, so that at least guarantees I'll get up 2 before he wakes up. The second is fired off, only for Magmar to wake up on the 4th turn and use Confused Ray. Shoot! Well, I guess I have to fire off Quiver Dance and hope the special defense buffs are enough to keep Butterfree alive. I do manage to get a 3rd Quiver Dance up next turn without Butterfree hitting itself, leading to Flamethrower getting a critical hit, and thank God for some newfangled power of friendship, letting Butterfree survive on 1 HP. It might still just be over if Confusion takes me out next turn, but we'll see. Next turn, Butterfree is still in confusion, but it doesn't hit itself, making it out alive with Roost healing back to half, but another Flamethrower bringing Butterfree to just 20 HP. Oh, that's at least good news. As long as we keep healing and managing to get in more Quiver Dances, we can outpace the damage and eventually make it out alive. All considering we don't get burned by Flamethrower. But of course, next turn, despite not hitting herself in confusion and managing to heal with Roost, Butterfree gets burned by Flamethrower. I mean, genuinely, all I could do is click Roost until Butterfree snaps out of confusion, which still hasn't happened, and a third Roost is used to heal back up to around 3/4, still managing to just barely outpace the damage that Flamethrower and the burn are doing. However, next turn we finally snap out of confusion, using Roost to heal, gaining about 10 HP back before going for Quiver Dance once again. I legitimately have to. I did calculations for this fight, which means you know I'm serious, because I hate doing calcs, and I cannot take out this entire team without at least being +4. With this Quiver Dance being the one that brings Butterfree up to that point. It at least gives me more insurance against a potential confusion stealth hit since we managed to get that up without a turn of getting blown out by Flamethrower. And unfortunately though, luck finally hits us in the face as confusion makes Butterfree hit herself, leading to a Flamethrower that still doesn't kill because friendship. And now we're also not burned or confused anymore. The game is throwing. I mean, I have to heal back up with Roost since both Rapidash and Ninetales have Quick Attack, getting back up to full, and tempting fate once again by getting to +6 with Quiver Dance, snapping out of confusion from a third Confuse Ray, then blasting out Psychics to KO Magmar, Rapidash, Arcanine, and finally Ninetales, who guess what, still doesn't go down to a +6 Psychic. I guess I didn't calc that correctly, but still the +6 special defense gives me more than enough bulk to survive a Fire Blast, KOing and winning the fight. How in the world did I get past Blaine? I'm honestly in shock with how well that fight went. It's like the game felt sorry for me for not being able to come up with a better solution than setup sweep. I don't know, man. They're all weak to fire. They don't get rock, ground, or water moves, and most of them tone out speed. I don't know what to tell you other than I needed luck. At least Giovanni's gym goes much better due to the power of Mega Drain on Venomoth, and Psychic as well for the poison types like Nidoking and Nidoqueen, carrying me through the gym until the end with Giovanni. Now, would you believe he actually starts with a Dugtrio? That's right, he ditched the Persian lead, but it also has Sucker Punch and prioritizes that. So it's time for setup sweeps to once again win the day! Say hello to Butterfree and 6 Quiver Dances with some Roosts in between to take care of the slashes that come my way, using Bug Buzz to KO Dugtrio, Psychic for Rhydon, Psychic for Nidoqueen, Psychic for Nidoking, and he just straight up dropped the Persian. It's gone. You could have at least had 5 Pokemon. The final gym leader of any region should be self-respecting enough to have a team composition nearly on par with the Elite Four. Guess he's just a piece of shit. On to the rival fight in Victory Road. Speaking of, that rival fight is made much easier thanks to the level cap being 55, so I can go straight to level 54 before taking him on since there's barely any required trainers inside of Victory Road. Butterfree, strut your stuff! Pidgeot is relying on special flying moves now in the form of Air Slash, so who cares if I'm weak to them as long as I get off a single Quiver Dance, and I do so. Along with a few other buttons so that I can one-shot all 4 of his party members, taking out Pidgeot with Psychic, Jolteon with Bug Buzz, Marowak with Psychic, and finally Vileplume also with Psychic to win. Butterfree with Quiver Dance has just utterly busted. I love it. And you know what's great? Venomoth also gets Quiver Dance at level 55, meaning I'll have 2 special sweepers, a physical sweeper in the form of Scyther, which I deployed in Victory Road to great effect, taking out this trainer with a Kangaskhan and Venusaur with no problem, a status dropper in Parasect that also has respectable physical coverage in its own right, along with growth to be the backup physical sweeper, and finally Beedrill, which kinda just sits there in case I need a Pokemon to sack since it's not like we're running into any Fairy-type trainer at this point. With the team at level 55 and moves relearned thanks to the move reminder here in the Pokemon League, I'm ready with Butterfree rocking Roost, Quiver Dance, Bug Buzz, and Psychic, Scyther with Swords Dance, X-Scissor, Roost, and Wing Attack, Beedrill with Poison Jab, Drill Run, Outrage, and Pin Missile, which is a very clean, powerful physical moveset for something I said was going to be a sack most likely. Venomoth's rocking Sludge Bomb, Mega Drain, Roost, and Quiver Dance to cover some other types that Butterfree doesn't, and finally Parasect filling in the role of the backup physical sweeper with Dig, Growth, Leech Life, and Spore. This is a very clean team, and while I'm shocked I got this far, I could see it being a clean win from here on out. Leave a comment below if you agree, and what game and type you want to see Nuzlocked next. Let's get in there. First up is Lorelei, and god, I love how she's just sitting on the back of her Lapras, all ready to intimidate the challenger on their first fight. Unfortunately for her, I'm here to rip and tear through her Water and Ice type team, leading Venomoth as her new lean, mean sweeping machine against Dugong. It may be a physical attacker with Waterfall, but considering it does less than half, I can go for a Quiver Dance on turn 1, take a Waterfall, then go for a second before going for 2 Roosts to heal back up from the Waterfalls, use a 3rd Quiver Dance, use 2 more Roosts, then a 4th Quiver Dance, and keep that pattern up until I've set up completely, avoiding a shot of Waterfall in the process to speed up that process, KOing with Mega Drain to end on nearly full HP to KO everything else from there. Sludge Bomb on Jinx, Mega Drain on Slowbro, then the same on Cloyster and Lapras to end the fight. 4 remain. Now you might consider it strange that I'm going for Scyther for this fight considering Bruno leads Onyx, but that's purely due to the fact that this Onyx doesn't have a rock type attack, and the flying moves will take care of the fighting types. As for Onyx, X-Scissor is more than enough once at +6 thanks to Swords Dance, proceeding to use Wing Attack on Hitmonlee, Machamp, Hitmonchan, and Poliwrath to finish the fight. Glad they replaced an Onyx with Poliwrath though, it's a wonder why they didn't just do that in Red and Blue. Next up is Agatha, the Poison Trainer, since there's not enough ghosts. And because of that, I'm replacing Mega Drain with Psychic on Venomoth to make sure I block the potential of poisoning during my setup. I know anything I use against her will just get glared by her lead Arbok though, so I figured why not just go for Quiver Dance and speed my Pokemon up beyond the speed lost by Paralysis. That, and it gives me the opportunity to sit there and wait for Venomoth to just recover from it thanks to the power of friendship. It ends up happening rather quickly after about 3 Quiver Dances, leading to Golbat before I started to resume the setup. Sadly though, it puts the kibosh on it pretty quickly thanks to the defense drop from Golbat's Crunch, leaving me at +4, but that's plenty enough to rip through Golbat, Weezing, Gengar, and Gengar number 2 all with 1 Psychic apiece, earning me the 3rd to last win needed. 2 trainers remain, with Lance likely the most worrisome of all of the Elite 4. He leads with Seadra though, so this is my perfect opportunity to take him down. It outspeeds and lands Hydro Pump for half damage on Butterfree, so I go for Quiver Dance to start outspeeding her, then go for Roost to play around the critical hit. You know the drill by now, heal with Roost, Quiver Dance, Swords Dance, or Growth depending on the Pokemon, and in this case, dodge a bunch of Hydro Pumps so that you can force Seadra into using Hyper Beam, giving me a free turn to heal with Roost before firing off my first attack. +6 Bug Buzz takes out Seadra, Psychic for Aerodactyl, Psychic for Gyarados, or it would be if it were a one-shot. Yeah, even setup sweeps don't work when the Pokemon you're using is Dog Water. No matter, the second Psychic puts down the intimidating Imitation Dragon, leading to Charizard. Now, this is the Pokemon to use Roost on. Simply put, both Air Slash and Flamethrower are special moves, and I want as much HP going into Dragonite as I can possibly get away with. Psychic one-shots after Butterfree gets back up to around 75%, leaving Dragonite to come out, get knocked silly with Psychic, but not quite go down. Instead, using Outrage, and the game is once again throwing by letting Butterfree survive via power of friendship. This game's over, 1 more Psychic, and we're in the clear. The only one who remains is Trace. Or in this case, E. Unfortunately for us though, this is where our journey ends. Not in victory, but in being utterly crushed by the fact that Mega Pidgeot outspeeds every single one of my team members. We did get a friendship dodge with Scyther, letting me set up a Swords Dance, then survived on 4 HP, then got another friendship dodge which let me take it out, but the follow-up is Rapidash, which I can't outspeed, especially when it's using Quick Attack. Parasect dies to Flare Blitz, as does Beedrill, and isn't it poetic that Beedrill was the last surviving member of the team when I thought it would be the most likely sack? Well, I guess I could replay the game all the way back up to this point and just go in with a team that has been fully candied up. Sadly, this is the only way to beat this Nuzlocke from what I can tell, and quite frankly, this is the only way you're going to get past Blaine in a realistic amount of time. I got insanely lucky, and there was no way it was happening a second time. Here though, it's just 6 Quiver Dances, don't even need Roost, then Psychic Mega Pidgeot and Rapidash, then Bug Buzz Jolteon, followed by a Psychic on Marowak, Vileplume, and Slowbro, winning me the fight. But we'll have to chalk this down to a Nuzlocke that can't be done without candies, which really isn't surprising, considering the fact that we are hard-walled by Mega Pidgeot without any Megas on our end. I can't really complain with how far we got, since we legitimately got to the final boss. With that all being said though, I hope you enjoyed the video. I've been working on the Shiny Professor Oak's challenge of Pokemon Emerald for the past few weeks, and I'll admit this one is probably harder than Fire Red and Leaf Green, but should be out within a week or so. Thanks once again to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video, it really helps out a lot. And you folks stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.